Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the December meeting of the Santa Barbara County Board of Education. And as it's on. Now it's on. Do over. Hi, and welcome this afternoon to our last meeting of the year, December. And we'll start all over again next year. The weather in here certainly doesn't seem like December. Okay, called the meeting to order. We have Spanish interpretation of the board meeting is available.
The bilingual message which will be repeated in English. Este es un mensaje bilingüe que será repetido en inglés. Buenas tardes. Para facilitar el acceso lingüístico, proporcionaremos interpretación simultánea entre inglés y español. Si desea escuchar la interpretación, si está usando una computadora, verá un icono en forma de globo en la parte inferior derecha de su pantalla que dice Interpretación. Haga clic ahí y seleccione español. Si está usando la aplicación de Zoom en un iPad o un teléfono, busque el menú de 3 puntos en la parte superior derecha de su pantalla, haga clic en Interpretación de idiomas y elija español. Les recordamos a los oradores que hablen uno a la vez y a un paso moderado. Good afternoon. In order to provide language access, we'll be providing interpretation between English and Spanish. If you wish to hear the interpretation in Spanish, if you're on a PC or laptop, look for the globe icon at the bottom right that says Interpretation and select Spanish. If you're on the Zoom application on an iPad or your phone, locate the 3-dot menu in the top right, click on Language Interpretation, and select Spanish. We'd like to remind our speakers to please speak one at a time and at a moderate pace. Thank you. Gracias.
Gracias. And now, Bruce, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Well, thank you. As we rise, I would ask for us to reflect on this awesome opportunity today to do one of those great things in American democracy, where we swear in elected officials and they pledge allegiance to the Constitution. What's great is in our society, we don't pledge allegiance to a political party or any specific agenda or anything personal. We pledge allegiance to the people and those who elected us. So as we pledge allegiance today to our flag, as we look at the flag, let's think about the people who we serve. So please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Bruce. And now we'll do a roll call. Anna?
Okay, Mrs. Carty?
Here.
Mrs. Daney?
Here.
Mrs. DeWord?
Here.
Mrs. Ehrman?
Here.
Mrs. Frost?
Here.
Mr. Howell?
Here.
Mr. Porter?
And present.
Thank you. And I don't believe we have any changes to the agenda today.
No.
So now we will have my and board comments. I cannot start today's meeting without saying that not only is this the last meeting of the year, but this is the last meeting for our esteemed colleague, Mr. Ridgeway. Bill, it is just the last 5 years. You have been such a great feature of this organization, and I just want you to know as a board member how much I appreciate your patience and your support, and just your attitude is always just thumbs up. So later on, we're going to do a more formal recognition of Bill, and at that time, the board will definitely be able to make comments as well. I also have this opportunity to congratulate my colleagues, Mary Beth Carty and Maggie Daney, on their re-election to the board. And I'm looking forward to continuing to serving with you for another 4 years. Susan and Michelle and I had the opportunity to attend the CSBA conference in San Diego. And it was so much of a boost to see Michelle up on the dais and elected as the treasurer of that organization. And it was a very good, proud moment for Santa Barbara County for sure. Let's see. Oh, and at the CSBA conference, the CCBE, which is just the county boards, presented their new guidance to board training. Would you call it training? Yeah.
Trustee handbook.
Trustee handbook. I knew it had a better name than training. And you might have gotten, the board members might have gotten an email from CCBE about it. And if you would like to get a copy, I would recommend that you do. I think Michelle would agree. Please let Anna know. And if you do not want a copy, please let Anna know. And Anna, I don't know if you know this or not, but you're going to order them for us. And also, I just wanted to mention that due to my being under the weather for a while, I wasn't able to attend the Salute to Teachers in person, but they also stream it online. And it is such a wonderful, wonderful event. It is just knockout great. And I think we might be hearing a little bit more about that. Okay, going on, let's start with Maggie. Do you have anything more to say?
I'll just echo, I did attend, and so sorry. Not to say all that again. Okay, I will repeat that because it was true. I would like to echo Mrs. Frost's comments about the Salute to Teachers, especially about Superintendent Salcido. She was absolutely beautiful and glowed, and everyone there was totally enamored of being and participating. And it was fun to see everybody all dressed up, and the food was great. We sat out on the beautiful grounds, and it was beautifully lit. And I just really, really look forward to that every year, and I was so thrilled I was able to attend this year. I did attend the Santa Barbara County School Boards Association meeting on yesterday morning, and everyone's kind of posturing with different issues, but things are kind of settling a little bit. I would like to, with another hat that I wear, share that tomorrow morning there will be a brunch and tour of the brand new Fine Arts building at Allen Hancock College. It is a phenomenal facility. It was given seed money by the Patty Boyd estate of over $10 million. And during the break, they'll be moving into the facility and classes will start, and there will be a community event that the public will be invited to participate. But it is state of the art, a beautiful concert hall, and I'm so excited to be attending that tomorrow. That's all.
I feel like I need to say something. First of all, I'm sorry to miss the Salute to Teachers. My wife and I were at a wedding at the Gainey Vineyard, and there are all these warnings about dress warmly. And all I'll say is an outdoor wedding in November, you really need to dress warmly. Secondly, several of us on the board joined Superintendent Salcido. Deborah Hood organized it. We had a JCCS tour followed by a tour of the North County facility, and it was absolutely terrific, really eye-opening. The two members of the two folks at JCCS who gave us a tour were terrific. They showed us everything. We engaged with a student. It was really informative. It was equally informative and fun to see the students. Everyone was getting ready for Thanksgiving at the North County facility. There were a lot of really excited kids and teachers. But thank you for that, and it was really a worthwhile endeavor.
So for those two events, ditto to all the above. I couldn't say it as nicely as you, especially Maggie. But I just want to thank the staff, because it takes a huge amount of work to put on the salute to teachers, and probably a lot of work to put on just that tour of the North County facility and our Cortland Community School. So my thanks to everybody, Deborah, especially you, for that one tour, as well as all your folks. So thank you.
I will add to that the JCCS tour was just really enlightening, but it was also, it gave me a lot of hope and optimism, and I'm really looking forward to that project unveiling when it's ready. Our interactions with students that are being served there was remarkable, and I was really impressed with the curriculum. It was a core literature-based curriculum, and it brought in experiential learning, and one of the students who was actually in class got to share with us some of his goals, and it was outstanding. So thank you, Deborah and company, for that, and lots of kudos for our Juvenile Court and Community Schools Division for the work that they're doing, Renee Wheeler, etc. And the Community Leaders Luncheon Scholarship Foundation last Monday was not that long ago. Okay.
No.
One time one. I understand Judy was there. I love that event every year because, again, it underscores second chances and what support will do, how it will lift up a student and really change the trajectory of their life. So I encourage you to check that one out next year. It's always the first Monday of December. Thank you.
I turned my mic on. So I also had the pleasure of attending the Salute to Teachers, and I was attended the field trip or the tour of the JCC schools and the community schools, and I don't want to repeat everything that was already said because I agree wholeheartedly with all the accolades that were already mentioned. But I just want to say that I really, both events, just the amount of dedication and care that everyone had with the Salute to Teachers and all of the amazing stories. And then when we went to see the schools and the dedication and like I said, the care for the youth and making sure that they're really prepared for their life and what lies ahead, and those were really good takeaways. And at one of the offices there was a little pop there. There was a poster that says, people will forget what you say and what you do, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And that's one of my favorite quotes of all time, and to see it there, and really it epitomizes how I was touched with the tours that we had, and also knowing the level of quality and care that we have with our teachers in the system. So thank you.
Thank you. I won't want to repeat what everybody said, so I'll do something a little different. I just will talk a little bit about CCBE, which is California County's Board of Education. It's an association that serves 58 states in the county. Thank you, Judy, for your kind words. And we just elected a new president for CCBE, and she's from Sonoma County, and our president-elect is from Monterey County. So we're going to meet monthly. And I just wanted to highlight also that I've been appointed to 3 other committees now with CCBE, and I'll be the chair of the Budget and Audit Committee. And I'm also going to serve on the Bylaws Committee and also the 2023 County Board Governance Initiative Committee. So Judy talked a little bit about the handbook that we developed this year, and it was a great process. It talks about the must and the cans of what county board members and superintendents do, and it got a very was very well received by the superintendents and the county board members who were in attendance at the general membership meeting in San Diego. Also, I just wanted to remind everybody there's going to be a workshop specifically for county board members on March 11th and 10th and 11th in Sacramento. And this is going to be specifically, probably they'll be discussing a lot of the items that are in the handbook, but I encourage all of my fellow members to participate. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We were a busy board this month. A lot going on. Do we have any public comment?
We do not have any public comments.
Okay, then we'll move right along to our organizational item, which starts with the appointment in lieu of election. The following qualified person will be appointed in lieu of education. Trustee area number 7, Maggie Daney. Onward. Moving right along, we will now have the administration of the oath of office. Our esteemed guest, Santa Barbara County Sheriff Bill Brown, will administer the oath of office to the superintendent and to myself and, well, Maggie, myself, and Mary Beth to begin new 4-year terms.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. It's an honor for me to be here today, having been asked to come and swear you in and Dr. Salcido back into office today. Today, for those watching, we'll be swearing in the chair of the Board of Education, Judy Frost, and trustee from Area 1, Mary Beth Carty, trustee from Area 7, Maggie Daney, and again, the County Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Salcido. Before I do that, however, and on behalf of the people of Santa Barbara County, I want to thank each of you for having had the fortitude to have run and then run again for the important positions that you continue to serve us all in the incredibly important field of education. As an elected official myself, I know that that's not easy. In running for and serving in elected office, you make yourselves vulnerable by subjecting yourselves to public scrutiny, to criticism, and to second guessing, the likes of which most people will never experience or endure. Knowing that you'll never be able to please everyone, you must nevertheless still come to work and press on and make difficult decisions in seeking to do what you believe to be in the best interest of our community's greatest resource, its young people. Your willingness to step up and into the arena to serve our youth in obtaining an education, something that the English writer Gilbert Chesterton once described as the soul of a society being passed from one generation to the next. Your willingness to do that is remarkable, it's respected, and it's appreciated. And I thank you on behalf of everyone in our county for all that you have done and for what you will continue to do in the years to come. So now, I ask you once again to take your oath of office. Would you all please stand at your place on the dais? Would you raise your right hand? And would you please repeat after me? I, and state your name,
I, Susan Frost,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
Foreign and domestic.
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely,
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
on which I am about to enter.
Congratulations, you are now the trustee for Area 5, the trustee for Area 1, the trustee for Area 7, and the county superintendent of education. Thank you.
Thank you.
And if I could ask you to come up here, and I will sign your oath of office and ask you to countersign it with me. You can make your way up. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. You're up here. Maggie, here you go. We got you next. Once or twice, yeah. I have a lot of deputies. All right, and you're done. Yeah, just a second.
This is my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law, Mary Green Salcedo. Whatever she says. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much.
Bad wine, as you said.
Oh, I got you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Has the forms to turn into
One, two, three, four, all for you. Okay,
Yay.
Okay, officially now we can move on. The election of officers, the Board Organizational Committee will give a report and the board will elect the following officers. And as the chair of the Board Organizational Committee, Maggie Daney.
As Chairman Frost mentioned, we did meet, and we would like to bring forward President Frost and Vice President Porter. I'm so sorry.
Did you
Just went blank.
Yeah.
Vice President Porter to serve again as our officers for the coming term.
Yes. Okay, we have a motion and it's been seconded, and now we will have the vote. All those in favor, do we need to recuse ourselves? I'll vote for you and you vote for me. We can vote for them both together. Okay. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, congratulations. And now there was a handout in our board book with the committee members for us to look at, and we should review that at this time. Any questions about the committee assignment handout? Good. And in a board meeting earlier this year, we tentatively agreed that the chair would be the representative to the CCBE committee as the voting representative. And I would like to continue in that capacity. And Maggie Daney, she has been our, has attended the Santa Barbara County School Board Association's executive committee meetings and would like to ask her if she would continue to be our representative there. Okay. And item number 12, the role of the superintendent for the County Board of Education. The county superintendent of school serves as the ex officio secretary and executive officer of the board. Any questions about that? And then we also were distributed a schedule of our meetings for next year. And there were a few notes. The February meeting will be in Santa Maria at the Santa Maria location of the SBCEO. And in June, the second meeting will need to be held in June on the second Thursday at June 8th. And July or August, one or the other, the beginning time of our meeting will change to accommodate public hearings. And in December, our meeting will occur on the second Friday of the month. May I have a motion to accept that schedule?
Second?
All those in favor?
I do have some discussion.
Oh, go for it.
Yeah, so although we're voting today to have all the meetings here in the Santa Barbara location except for the one in February, I do ask us to think about going forward. We have more meetings up in Santa Maria. I think Michelle and me, we don't care. It's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. But all of our students are in North County, not down here. I don't think we've ever had a parent attend a board meeting all the way down here. Maybe we would have one or two if we had them up there. So I would ask us to think about that and maybe develop a process to pick, maybe there's some good meetings to have up there, but I'm certainly willing to support the schedule as of today.
That's certainly a comment that we will take under consideration in looking forward. And part of that discussion is our staff attendance at those meetings, but there are some meetings where that requirement wouldn't mean as many would have to travel. So, okay, then may we have a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? Okay. And now I'll turn the meeting over to our superintendent, Susan.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon, everyone. And the superintendent's report is within your board book. I'm going to pause, as I like to do, and see if there are any initial questions before I add just a few more comments. Questions on what was submitted? Okay, I'd like to add a few comments today. One is actually on the dashboard. Information that is in your book. So I talked about the California dashboard. Just wanted to emphasize that there'll be a public release of the dashboard next week. And so I'm sure we'll see stories and coverage and information about the dashboard. Just 2 points. Again, it's in the book, but sometimes it's better to be able to verbalize it as well as share it in written format. 2 elements that I'd like to share. One is, because typically the dashboard shows a color-coded dashboard, a red, an orange, a yellow, a green, a blue. That is always based on what the status is and what the change has been. Because we haven't had change information, the dashboard will look very different this year. It'll look more like a Verizon cell phone bars, from very low to high, than it will a color-coded dashboard. So that's one reason for that. It's because of the change that's unavailable. There are 11 measures that the dashboard covers. It's like when you think about driving your car and you're looking at your dashboard, there's many measurements. And just like that, there's many measurements on this dashboard. Academics is one of the 11, academics meaning English, language arts, and mathematics, but there are 10 others around student engagement and attendance and others. So I say that because it's meant to be more of a comprehensive look at both schools and districts. So there should be no surprise that the dashboard results will be reflective of the results of last year in terms of the performance, but also attendance and engagement. So there shouldn't be any surprises there. Having said that, there was something that was a little bit of a surprise. And that's the second point on this dashboard that I wanted to share. There's always been a requirement to have students participate in the tests. There's a federal accountability system, and the federal accountability system says, you've got to have 95% of your students participate, or there'll be a penalty. And that's always existed. And there's also always existed, parents may opt out their children from the test. So it's a kind of a dichotomy. You have to have a participation, but you can also opt out, and it's always existed. The thing that changed this year is that there is now a deeper, harder hitting penalty for the space between wherever your participation rate is and 95%. Whatever the gap is, there's now a larger contribution of a negative point that then add to your dashboard and reduce the results. So that is new this year. There have been penalties before, they just haven't been as, I wouldn't say weighty as they are this year, so it changed. So in your notes, in your book, we talk about the dashboard results, but I also talk about the 95% participation rate penalty. Now, fortunately, we have an incredible curriculum and instruction team led by Ellen Barger. They've already looked at all of the district's participation rates. It's by district, it's by school, and by groups. And for any school that has a large gap between 95% and participation, they have contacted each, talked with each, communicated with each, and are not only one, so that they're not surprised as they look at their data, but two, so they can also prepare to communicate out to their communities. And three, most importantly, address the results of the dashboard, including participation rate. So major commendations to Ellen and the team. We didn't have the data for long. We crunched the numbers, we've communicated out with districts, and we're providing the support. So that's all the dashboard piece that I wanted to make sure you knew before the results are publicized next week. Two other shorter updates. One, a student advisory committee. So really, really happy to announce that after applications, the process was publicized, we had a lot of students from Santa Barbara County interested in serving on the Student Advisory Council. And so 17 were admitted into this council from Carpinteria Unified, Santa Barbara Unified, Lompoc Unified, Santa Ynez, and Santa Maria Valley. And in Santa Maria Valley, for example, all three of their comprehensive and their continuation school have representatives. So great regional representation. They are 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. We've met one time about 2 weeks ago. We have 2 more meetings ahead. Plus, I'd like to invite students on that council to attend our meetings as well, to not only listen in, but provide some input. I don't have all the input and feedback summarized, and I don't have a report yet, but I did share with them that I'd like to share with you their input. And the input that we are asking for is, tell me, please advise, this is what the council's for. How can we ensure that we are engaging you in schools, that there's rigor in schools, that you feel connected in schools? How can we ensure that there's enthusiasm all throughout kindergarten through 12th grade? And I'll tell you, their feedback was really important and valuable, and confirms the fact that this council is a good idea. And so I'll continue to report back, but really excited about that. And then the last announcement is on an education spotlight. So a commitment that I've had to our community is to provide more education, community-wide, county-wide education on different topics in the coming months and years. And this will be a series, but I can only report on the first one. Still the other parts are to come. But the first one will be on fentanyl, and it's going to be focused on K through 12. So for educators and for families with youth K through 12, and it'll be on January 19th. There'll be a panel presentation from 5 to 6:30, and we'll record it. We'll have interpretation in Spanish. We're planning mixed Mixteco and American Sign Language as well. And we want to be able to be focused on our youth around what's happening, what's the epidemic, why does this matter, what should we be cautious of? So that's coming, and we're in the planning stages. Really appreciate Bridget Boblitz and Cami Barnwell for helping to lead the planning with so many external providers we've brought to the table to ask their input on how does this sound? Who are we missing? What voices should be at the table? So we've had 2 planning sessions so far, and looking forward to the first one, January 19th. And with that, I'll turn it back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Susan. Very complete report. Any questions for Susan on that? Okay, at this time, I am going to turn the meeting over to Susan because she's in charge of this part.
Well, thank you. Let me turn on this microphone, and I'm so delighted. Let me just look at the room here. Goodness, good afternoon to everybody here. And again, an opportunity to recognize Bill Ridgeway, our friend and colleague for nearly 35 years. Excuse me, let me. And as Madam Chair Judy Frost said earlier, we'd love to turn this over to the board after this recognition for any comments you might have as well. At this time, if I may invite Bill Ridgeway to join me at the podium, please. So we know we can focus on you. Right on. Right here, right here. Well, Bill, we've had a lot of the last this meeting, and now your final board meeting. Yeah. Yes. For nearly 35 years, close to 35 years, we've all benefited and honestly admired your calm and cool and caring and compassionate leadership. Here are some of the roles that Bill has in which he served: Assistant Coordinator of School Business Advisory Services, Assistant Administrator of School Business Advisory Services, the Administrator for Internal Services, Assistant and now Associate Superintendent of Administrative Services. And I would like to add Master Teacher. With humor and kindness and patience, you have the ability to teach us all about school finance, district funding, county office budgets in ways that not only make sense, but build trust, which is so important as stewards of public funds. There are so many special aspects about the way you teach, Bill. Not only do you make the complex understandable, you have a way about you that helps the learner feel smart and good when we ask our questions. And even when you have the most knowledge about a topic, you never have had to be known as the smartest person in the room. I truly admire your humble confidence. It would have been about 1988 when, right, when you joined SBCEO, yeah?
On my birthday.
Oh, when you joined SBCEO, oh my gosh, that's really neat. Ronald Reagan was president. The #1 song that year was Faith by George Michael. Guns N' Roses was really close with Sweet Child of Mine, but they didn't make it. And 20-something-year-old Bill Ridgeway on your birthday decided to change his 5-minute commute from the private sector to make it a 65-minute commute to Cathedral Oaks at SBCEO to serve the students and the staff and the schools of Santa Barbara County. And we are all so grateful you did. Here, you've led several departments: the Information Technology Services, School Business Advisory Services, Internal Fiscal Services. And you've worked with hospitals and insurance providers behind the scenes to ensure that all school employees had uninterrupted insurance and care. And we got close several times, and Bill actually helped to bridge any gap. The state leaders contacted you for advice on changes to funding formulas and have helped to make the change to the county office funding formula that we realized this year, and that's Bill. And with all of that, I have a feeling that even this morning may be one of your biggest successes or feelings of success. Bill and I walked over to the Cathedral Oaks Hilltop Preschool, where we saw children playing because of the agreement that Bill helped to negotiate, not helped, led. and we saw students playing because of
Now
you.
you're really gonna get me.
No, well, it was a great morning. It's been a great 35 years. Bill, the master teacher, about to close this chapter and open a new one filled with adventures with your beautiful wife, Ingrid, and your 4 children and your 12 grandchildren, that you will hear them playing just like you did the preschool children too. So we have something for you today. Let me get it. Hold on. Pardon me. It's an apple for our teacher. It's an apple for our teacher. Yeah. Okay, Bill Ridgeway, with deep appreciation for over 34 years in education, your legacy of service, leadership, excellence, and integrity will be remembered by us all, by the County Board of Education, and myself at SBCEO. This is for you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Oh, this is all overwhelming, when it gets focused on you as an individual, because it never really is about one individual. There is an old cowboy song that's coming to mind right now. It goes like this: "You're a-headin' for the last roundup." And I think that's what's happening right now. And as Susan mentioned, this will be my last board meeting. And we could go for 35 minutes talking about 35 years of memories, but I won't. I just want to gaze for a moment around this room, if I can. And remember when I sat in this room, right there, where that door is, 35 years ago, to interview for my first job here at the county education office. I had no clue what I was entering into, but I am grateful for the opportunity I had to sit there for a few minutes, watch people walk by, and wonder, am I going to work with that person? If I get this job, am I going to work with that person? And I ended up working with all of them, and hundreds of colleagues over the years I've had opportunity to work with and been enriched by that opportunity. As I just looked around this room, and I'm not going to do it again because it's going to get me, that same kind of appreciation is really welling up within me right now. Because I know when we come to work, and whether it's cabinet, whether it's managers, whether it's department heads, whether it's staff, whether it's board members, whether it's our superintendent, we all come with the same thing in mind. And the dedication that we have is not tied to a paycheck. It's really tied to who we are and what we feel in here. So when we went out to the preschool this morning, it was like the perfect circle. This is why we do what we do. This isn't supposed to be this hard. But I've never retired before, so I am learning along the way. And I'm certainly not an expert at that. Anyway, I just conclude with a big heartfelt thanks to all of you in this room and all of you beyond this room who make a difference in the lives of students throughout Santa Barbara County and frankly beyond the boundaries of Santa Barbara County. It has been a privilege to be here and work with all of you. So that's how I will end, is with just a big thank you to all of you.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Maggie?
Well, she made us all cry today. And thank you for turning me on. You're a gentle giant, and I can't thank you enough for your patience, serving on the Finance Committee, which I was very upfront when I interviewed for this position. Not my forte, but you made me smarter, and I totally appreciate it. And I know that your grandkids can hardly wait to get on that beach in Hawaii with you. So I wish you all the best and Godspeed, and I'm going to cry some more, so I'm going to pass it.
So, I'm making this up. This is either providential or serendipitous or both. But to give you something, I found what I'm going to give you under my chair. It says it all. Who lost it, I don't know. But it is a star. Two quick comments. Susan said it very, very eloquently. Your ability to answer questions concisely and clearly is just remarkable. You made really complicated things that seem understandable. I'm glad I didn't have to get tested and repeat what you just said. Secondly, remembering the line, what goes around comes around. The reason I so enjoyed seeing you almost cringe up there is the attention was on you. And the reason I insisted you stand there is, having been to the traditionally December anniversary meetings, the 5th anniversary of every employee is noted, to see you in the affection between you and your staff, and it's a totally different Bill Ridgeway. You're buttoned down either way, but as you would have the staff member come up who really did not want to be standing there and get all the attention, and it was just a different side of you that I saw in talking about who made the best brownies and who, all of these things. Some of the people turned around and looked at you like, how did you know that? But that connection you had with every member of your staff is one of my greatest memories. So thank you.
So Bill, my knowledge of you is really very different than that of this board or SBCEO. When I was sitting on one of the other boards in the county, I was able to see the true power that you and your staff had down on our little school district. We would never have been able to accomplish the things that we did without the support of you and your staff, and how much you deeply cared, not just for this organization, but all the organizations and the kids that we serve. So from that perspective, it is deeply appreciated. And then on this board, I gave you a couple tough nuts to crack, some analyses to do that you did superb jobs on. And I know your staff did a lot of it, but you still get the credit for it, because you would have gotten the blame if it was messed up. But it was very well done. It's been an honor to get to know you. And the best of luck to you as you go out to greener pastures.
So when Susan was talking about Bill Ridgeway as the master teacher, that was like the very first thing that I had thought of. And I wasn't sure if 35 years in county education just kind of cultivated that response, that affinity that you have for teaching, but it is truly a gift. Or if maybe you found county ed because it was in you all along, like Dorothy. But I have to say that you have a propensity to make the almost indecipherable completely digestible. And I just wish that I could serve on other boards with someone of your ilk, because I will tell you, there just aren't enough Bill Ridgeways around to make this complicated morass of finances really, really understandable and relatable and manageable. But I will say that you always consistently inspired confidence. And we knew that we were in the hands of someone who has absolute integrity and ethics and absolutely kind to your core. So you're a good man, Bill Ridgeway. We're going to miss you.
Well, again, I'm in the position where I'm just want to iterate everything that everyone else has said. Although I haven't had the opportunity to work with you as much as everyone else, and I'm a little sad for myself because of that. I'm like going around like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to build these memories with you. But the short time that I was here, you just always have just a calming, warm light that you bring into every room, into every situation. And I just thank you for all your years of dedication and knowing that the students here have had someone that has that much love and care in their heart, and is part of their purpose as on this earth. It feels so good to know that. And so thank you again for all the time that you've dedicated to our students and to our community. And enjoy your grandkids and enjoy your family and enjoy this time for yourself now, because you've earned it and you really deserve it.
Everybody has said so many nice things. I'm like Nadra, I've only known you for 2 years, and so I met you in the middle of COVID. And I just wanted to say, I'm looking back and thinking back on that day after I got elected. Within a couple of weeks, I think, you and Susan, you contacted me and you said, we want to come see you. We want to meet you. And I remember we were in the middle of COVID and you came to my house and we met outside on a picnic bench and you brought cookies. And I look back and I still get chills that day. And I remember how we didn't know each other, and I had my SACS report and I had sticky notes on every other page, and I wanted to learn everything, every line about that budget item. And you sat there and you were so patient and you said, this is gonna take some time, but you were so patient. And I remember every question I asked, like you do in the meetings, you always take the time to say, that's a good question, whether you mean it or not. It was sincere. I always love that about you. So I appreciate all you've done for the children and for the county office. And it just, the tears here says it all about how people are going to miss you here. And I will miss you. And I'm certainly happy for your family that they have your undivided attention. And I think that 65-minute commute, really, I didn't even put together. That is actually a lot of time in your life on the roads, and that you stayed safe the entire time, hopefully. And then, so thank you. We're going to miss you. Thank you.
Thank you all.
It's not just 65 miles a day, it's twice that, because you have to go and come. And it's along that line that I would like to end this, Bill, on a little bit lighter note. Our gas prices may continue to go down due to the decreased demand in Santa Barbara County. And I think the auto dealers as well, because I have a feeling that was done with a few cars.
Every 5 years.
Every 5 years, yeah. So Bill, we are going to miss you. And I think you're going to miss us too. I think you'll think of us once in a while, fondly. Yeah.
Been a privilege.
Thank you, Bill.
Madam Chair, if I may fill in just two comments really quickly. I've said my part, but now I want to give you some logistics. One, I did not report on a successor. And the reason is because the process is currently underway and there really is nothing else to report at this time. Bill is nearly irreplaceable, and that's what I think has come through. I also want to share that one of the three departments, there are three departments that which I've shared that Bill oversees. And one of the administrators, Denise Cora, who's here in this room with over 31 years of education experience, is also retiring at the same time as Bill. Denise, would you please stand so we can recognize you? Denise, a phenomenal administrator who we are going to miss very, very dearly. So wanted to ensure that we made that comment for you. Thank you.
And likewise, up until a few years ago, Denise made that commute from North County to Santa Barbara County to the office here. So now the demand is really going to go down. Thank you very much. Now we're going to have a special education local plan area overview. And Susan, would you like to introduce the presenter here?
Very much so. Dr. Ray Avila is here, who's the Executive Director of the SELPA, and I'm going to use that acronym, but he'll explain more about it. And Ray, thank you so much for being here today. Ray is a phenomenal colleague. He's been the SELPA Executive Director for 5 years, has 40 years of experience in education, mostly in Fresno Unified School District as a teacher, an administrator, general ed and special ed. Right before coming to Santa Barbara County was in the Bay Area as a special education administrator. And more than credentials, Ray, I want to say how tremendous it is to work alongside you as the lead of our SELPA. And we were looking forward to this. We wanted to provide this information because it's helpful, I think, to share. We have a special education division at SBCEO. So then how does the SELPA interact with that? And I asked Ray if he wouldn't mind just giving us today some of the 101. SELPA, Special Education Local Plan Area 101, and we can have future presentations as well. So thank you, Ray, for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Salcido, and thank you to the Board of Education for inviting me to come share with you about what is SELPA. And I love this picture, especially coming from the Central Valley. This picture means a lot in a variety of ways. So SELPAs were established through legislation decades ago, back in 1977. And to put it simply, there is at least one SELPA, which stands for Special Education Local Plan Area, in every county, if not more. Our wonderful county has one SELPA. SELPAs have the belief that all students can learn, hands down, and SELPAs definitely support students with disabilities, giving them the opportunity to grow and be a productive citizen in the community. So this visual gives you an understanding of the different regions of SELPA, and we belong to Region 8 in the state of California. We're also very unique here in Santa Barbara County because we are a joint powers agency. So out of the 135 some odd SELPAs throughout the state, there's only 6 JPAs here in the state of California. But we run very similar to all of the SELPAs throughout the state, following the same guidelines and procedures. We have a board of superintendents that we report to, 8 sitting superintendents here from Santa Barbara County. And each superintendent represents a unique part of our county and a unique part of the education system, whether it be high school, elementary, or unified. We also have representation of what we call the Santa Ynez Valley Consortium, which is 7 smaller districts in the valley, and then of course SBCEO. So that represents 25 LEAs throughout Santa Barbara County. We offer much advisement and consultation around federal and state laws focused on special education. We provide support with local, state, and federal funding, and we follow very specific policies and procedures that are built into what's called our local plan, very much like a district's LCAP, and also our procedural handbook. And any language that is revised in our local plan must be reviewed, discussed, and approved by our board. All right, so now we get into the fun stuff. What do we do? Well, we support educational programs, like I said earlier, throughout the county, and we do that through what's called consultation and collaboration. We are at will to all 25 LEAs. We definitely are so appreciative that we're back in person because we love to meet with the superintendents and the special ed directors and their departments to provide that support. We provide an immense amount of professional development, and we definitely love collaborating with SBCEO's C&I department, thank you, Ellen, and team, and making sure that we're rolling out the same message. Agencies are huge here in Santa Barbara County, and so we definitely collaborate with agencies like Alpha Resource Center, Tri-County Regional Center, CALM, CADA, and so forth on behalf of the students and their families. And then most importantly, it's all about creating a positive learning environment for all the students and making sure that all systems are in place. So federal law, IDEA, Individuals with Disabilities Educational Act, makes sure that we are providing a free and appropriate public education in the least restrictive environment. And so SELPAs throughout the state of California just give that gentle reminder to all the LEAs that this is what we must uphold to in supporting our students. We use regular education resources as well, along with the special education resources to support students with disabilities. We make sure that all systems are strong, and that's the identification of students, the assessment process, determining eligibility for special education, and then most importantly, placing them with the right resources and programs. Compliance is something that we collaborate with California Department of Education. We meet monthly with CDE. I have the privilege of sitting on a couple of state SELPA association committees, such as the legislative committee, and this allows us to get to know our partners in CDE a little bit better and understanding what these requirements are all about. So in special education with compliance, we want to make sure that our colleagues here in Santa Barbara County understand what's being asked of them by CDE when they go through a compliance effort. And we present the information to them, and we walk alongside of them through the whole process and participate on the teams that they build within their LEAs so that those compliance efforts are implemented seamlessly. Little visual of the 25 LEAs that we support, very similar to our county education office, minus a few. As of a couple days ago, there are 8,890 students on what's called individual education plans, IEPs, here in Santa Barbara County. That roughly represents about 12.5%. Now, statewide, the average number of students is around 13%. So here in our county, we're a little bit below the state average currently. Okay. There we go. All right, this is our little office that we get to work out of, and we love it. We're over on Hollister and Patterson, and we're next to what's going to be a new big Google office, so we're a little intimidated, but they've been good neighbors so far. So we have a front office staff that includes myself, our wonderful coordinator. We have an office manager, an executive assistant, and a CBO who formerly used to work at SBCEO. Thank you. She's amazing. For the three of us administrators in the office staff, you can see all of the different levels of support. These are just highlights that each one of us implements throughout the year for the 25 LEAs. We definitely support group work throughout the county. We love facilitating network meetings and just awareness type of events that highlight the efforts that all of the staff are doing throughout the county in supporting students and their families with disabilities. We take great pride in having mental health experts on our Santa Barbara County SELPA team. Please note that this is not a common thing throughout the state. Not all SELPAs have a mental health staff, but it's something that my predecessor started building upon her retirement, and we've taken off with it these last 5 years, and we're very excited for the work that they do. This is a continuum of mental health services, and the reason why I'm sharing this with the board today is, as we all are aware of, mental health is on the rise. Mental health needs, especially with students and staff, are on the rise throughout our state. We have a big focus on it here in Santa Barbara County. And what this continuum shows that in terms of supporting a student, to the left-hand column, the student may qualify for counseling services as well as the parent. We can write that into the IEP. Then in the middle, it might get a little bit more restrictive in terms of efforts with social work services, and that is where we implement our wraparound services team from our SELPA staff. And then there are some students that need to be in the most restrictive environment for their safety, and that would be a non-public school residential treatment center. The wraparound services team supports both the student and their family, and we provide a 7-day-a-week service delivery with 5 days out of the week, of course, being during the instructional day and then on call. We have classrooms in our county that we call GROW, which stands for Growth Mindset, Others-Centered Resilience, and Work Ethic. The GROW classrooms are therapeutic learning programs. They have a strong mental health component, and it's to allow students to remain in their least restrictive environment, preferably their own district, but sometimes they do need to go to a neighboring district for this level of support. And we have 16 of those classrooms throughout Santa Barbara County, serving students as young, could be as young as kindergarten all the way up to the high school age. This is a picture of one of the non-public school facilities that we use. Most of the facilities that our students attend are out of the state of California, and that allows for maximum safety and security for the students. Versus in the state of California, non-public school facilities, the student can exit upon their own right, and then that doesn't ensure their safety. We also implement what's called CPI, Crisis Prevention Intervention Professional Development, throughout the year. And we have trained up a cadre of CPI trainers here in Santa Barbara County. They could be an administrator, a school psychologist, a counselor, a behavior specialist, and they are continually training paraprofessionals, teachers, even community members, front office staff, on how to respond to a child's needs when they're showing some behavioral issues, and have a better understanding of why that student is showing those behaviors and how to respond appropriately and not in a physical manner. I'm sorry. And then another project that we implement throughout the year is called Alternative to Dispute Resolution. Legal costs are definitely on the rise, and so this is our proactive effort to make sure that LEAs and families can come to the IEP table and be solution-oriented together. And there are times when we need to come in as a neutral mediator. And SELPA has about a dozen ADR cadre members, including your own Assistant Superintendent, Kirsten Escobedo, which, by the way, she's not here today because she's in training. She is attending the Caruso School of Law through Pepperdine University Strauss Institute ADR. And we have several of our ADR cadre members going through this training throughout this school year. My coordinator and I will be attending it in June. It's a week-long training, and it really empowers you to be the best neutral mediator you can when trying to support families and school districts to come to that mutual decision-making process. We have other specialists on our staff, an audiologist, assistive technology specialist, BCBAs. We have an award-winning school psychologist. Dr. Deborah Mansky just received from NASH, the National Association of School Psychologists, Supervisor Award for this year. We're very proud of her. And we also have a doctoral intern. So we're 17 strong. Here are some resources for those that are going to look at today's presentation electronically. Thank you to SBCEO. They helped us bring our antiquated website. Thank you to your IT department, bringing our website up to speed. We're very proud of our website. It got a nice facelift. We use the OMS system, as does Ellen's team, for professional development. We have an amazing parent handbook that was put together by our community advisory committee of members of parents and staff members throughout the county. Cyrus is our student information system that is a confidential system for all the special education information regarding the students' education. And because of the pandemic, we created a YouTube channel because during the pandemic, our professional development, we pivoted, as did everybody, to virtual, and we recorded most of our professional development, and so now our LEAs can go back and use that. They go onto our YouTube channel. So if you have any future questions, because I want to respect today's time, but here we are. And again, thank you for letting us come and just tell you a little bit about what Santa Barbara County SELPA is. Yes?
About how many students is the support that are in out-of-state residential facilities?
Very good question. So we had an average of 10 to 12 per year. Now that's 10 to 12 in one of those facilities throughout the year, but it might be, yeah. Then the pandemic came, and interestingly enough, that number dramatically went down to around 4 to 6. And currently we're at 4. We assumed, as did many SELPAs across the state, that those numbers would increase when we came back in person. We're pulling the data this year, so I'm speaking very objectively right now, but we do believe it's because of those GROW classrooms that our students are remaining in their least restrictive environment. There's strong supports on the campuses, and this allows them to thrive here with us, and we don't have to put them in a more restrictive environment for their safety. And those decisions are really tough to make for IEP teams and families, of course. So we take it very serious. Yeah. Yes, Mr. Porter?
So I have a series of questions, if that's okay. So it's hard to get your arms around what a SELPA really is. So could you just take a simple example, hopefully, of an IEP? What a school does, what a district does, what SBCEO does, and what SELPA does when a child needs help and the IEP process is ongoing.
Okay. So the actual individual, this is great, keeps me focused. So we'll start at the school level. The school level will do the mechanics of determining if a student is eligible. So that's referral process and assessments and so forth. And then they have a meeting with those individuals involved, including the family, of course. At the district level, the district special education director and his or her department are supporting that site level team and just making sure that they're doing everything appropriately with all the legal requirements. And then here at the SBCEO level, they are supporting those LEAs. But what's unique between a district and SBCEO is SBCEO also runs its own special education programs, regional programs here in our county for a variety of needs of students. So they're doing a lot at their level as what the districts are doing at their level as well. And then at the SELPA level, we're that overarching where they come and they need the consultation and the collaboration, they being the school district or the individual school districts or individual schools themselves. We've established those relationships so that when a student's IEP has been implemented, that it's being implemented correctly. And of course, we also have a faction of community members and parents that inquire as well if that's being implemented correctly. I gave you sort of in a nutshell, but
that's really helpful, actually. So a highly specialized school, the teacher of the year is our deaf and hard of hearing teacher. So somebody told me, it might have been Susan, might have been somebody else, that SELPA runs that classroom. Is that a true statement, or does SBCEO run that classroom, or who's responsible for that classroom?
That's a great question. So SELPAs oversee the implementation of regional programs. And that classroom, assumedly, is part of a regional program. SBCEO is a provider of some of our regional programs. So theoretically, in our local plan, we are responsible as a SELPA for those regional programs. But then we support our regional providers like SBCEO or Orcutt Union School District or Santa Barbara Unified School District to implement those programs. We don't staff them. We're not in a supervisory or evaluative role for the staff that are working in those programs. That's up to the district that is the regional provider. We provide the support through IEP implementation, professional development, consultation.
In this case, Orcutt would be the supervising school district. SBCEO is.
And Orcutt, excuse my interruption, SBCEO is the regional provider. So we're the employer, we're the implementer of the IEPs, we work with the families. Orcutt School District is the facility upon which we have the regional program, SBCEO's regional program, and the parameters of the program, ratios, you can tell me other
staffing, yeah, staffing and student ratios, curriculum that's being used, resources that are put in there,
are overseen by the SELPA.
Yes.
Yeah, are overseen by the SELPA. Mm-hmm.
So governance is very interesting. Almost every organization, education organization has an elected school board overseeing it, locally or at the county level, but SELPA does not. Why is that, or how is that? And maybe, I mean, you didn't invent the system, so maybe you can't answer that.
Again, we're unique because we're a joint powers agency. So most SELPAs are connected to county offices of education. If we were connected to this county office of education, then I would be reporting to Dr. Salcido as my superintendent and to you as my board. And then we would have a process of, would this board represent the SELPA board, or would we have members of this board along with sitting superintendents? But we're a JPA. That was decided a couple decades ago by our predecessors, and we run independently. No elected offices are represented in our agency.
Okay, gotcha. So to take an example of governance, and I don't care about the candidates, but governance. So SBC SELPA made the decision to endorse a political candidate for office. So could you explain the process by which that happened and the board action that made that happen, or is that something that SELPAs typically do?
It depends on, I can't speak for other SELPAs. I can speak for the decision that was made with our SELPA. So, and I'll take ownership of that decision. When we had the election occurring, we went through a process of acknowledging that the current superintendent was running, and of course we, as an organization, believe that that person should have been endorsed. In my naivety of understanding an election process and the rules and regulations, I enthusiastically put SELPA on the website during that election process. Quickly realized through legal counsel that that's not the best thing to do, because that could cause question, being that, you know, it wasn't endorsed by the SELPA board. I did inform our SELPA board, talk to every board member to let them know that that occurred during that time, and there was an understanding. And then we quickly removed the SELPA endorsement off of it. And then we followed procedures and protocols for election campaigns in a private manner to allow our SELPA staff to have their endorsement or not individually.
So I would ask council, would it be legal for a SELPA to endorse a candidate?
It's a good question.
You can answer next time.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of opinions and laws about use of public resources for political activities, and that's where you normally see the issues. I've written a few memos on it, so I guess I would have to, you know, find out whether something like that occurred. But usually you don't see endorsements on any kind of, you know, public website or something like that.
Finally, I'll say Jennifer Conley, the best special ed teacher ever. How you got her, I don't know, but she is top notch. So congratulations.
Oh, thank you for sharing that, and I will pass that on to her as well. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I was wondering how the board would feel about just like a 3-minute break. We've still got the information items and the action items to cover, and it's 3:30. Or shall we plow on? I think we're taking a break. Very short, really. The meeting back to order after our short break. And we are now on the consent agenda. And is there any item on the consent agenda that someone on the board would want to pull off to talk about or have any questions on or comments?
On item 23, I wrote a letter that I have a copy of the letter.
I'm always impressed with the articulate way in which they thank all of the people that have supported them. And I love that piece of it, because I know that they get guided on what to write and how to write it, but it still warms my heart when I read these applications. So
Well, I'll move to approve the consent agenda as written.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay. Discussion? If not, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The consent agenda is accepted. And now we have some informational items that are being shared with us. One of them is a board governance calendar, which was attached, and the personnel report. Any questions about either one of those? Comments? and welcome every baby. And Bridget, would you like to do a little? Yes.
Okay. So thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to inform the board that one of the Educational Services Division programs, Welcome Every Baby, or better known as WEB, may be sunsetting June 30th of 2023. And since the pandemic, WEB has served between 450 to 500 families annually. This program is almost entirely funded through philanthropic donations and grants. And as of June 30th of 2023, the current funding for this program will be exhausted. The annual cost of this program varies between $355,000 to $450,000 annually. And there are currently 4 employees who serve in this program. And they will also need to be notified if we do sunset by March 15th. I would like to let the board know that over the past 3 years, we have really worked to secure sustainable funding for WEB, but it's been extremely difficult because the focus of our donors and grants has changed significantly. So we've spent a tremendous amount of effort to secure sustainable funding in really 4 different ways. We've met with local community partners to discuss new partnerships, including taking over the WEB program to providing sustainable funding for the program. We've also applied for a home health license, which would have allowed for WEB to bill private insurance companies, but unfortunately we did not meet the criteria for that license. We've also worked and met with medical and community partners to be able to bill on our behalf. And lastly, we have solicited philanthropic donors to provide that really long-term sustainable funding needed for WEB. But we haven't been super successful. And so in a final effort to secure sustainable funding or an external provider, one of our repeated donors has hired a consultant to investigate any remaining potential options. This consultant we are working with will inform us of any new options with potential to continue the WEB program by February 1st. And so we'll have more for the board at that time. And if we still haven't found a new partnership or sustainable funding by February, we will need to begin the process of sunsetting that program June 30th of 2023. So this is really just an informational update as to where we are. I do believe that in the past we've talked a little bit about WEB and the funding challenges that we're having, but we'll entertain any comments or questions if you have them at this point.
I really appreciate your bringing this item to our attention now. I like having advanced information about major things, changes that are going to happen like this. And I think that that's important. I also, it sounds like from what you've reported that you and your staff have done a very good job of looking under every rock that you possibly can to find funding. And I'm glad that the consultant is going to provide an answer by the 1st of February to give you time to then do what needs to be done. And I think one of the things in looking at what the consultant may come up with in the way of funding is that it not be just year to year. The program needs to be on a continuum, not a annual, are we going to go on, are we going to go on, are we going to go on? So we certainly, I personally trust your judgment on that, on what comes forward, and look forward to a report. Any other comments by board? Joe?
Hi, Cammie. I laud your efforts in your report, and I have total confidence you're doing everything. In the odd case, there's something any one of us could do in terms of someone happens to know a nonprofit, this or that, not that we're initiating anything. If there, I'll just speak for myself. If there were a way I could support your efforts, I'd be happy to. I think of so many presentations we've had over so many years, and that one always, you just, everyone who has a child knows the challenges at the time of birth and before and after, and just what a valuable service you provide. So I have total confidence that if there's a way, you guys will find it, but if I can do something, I'd have to.
Thank you, Mr. Al. We'll let you know. Any other questions or comments?
I'd like to second what Joe said. Definitely, if there's anything that you feel the board could assist in this process, to please let us know. And then I did have a question about, and you may have mentioned this, so I'm sorry if I didn't catch it, but how many community members are being served by the program now? And if it were to sunset, are there any other organizations that would be able to support those community members?
It's a great couple of questions. So we are still serving about 450 to 500 families annually. And in terms of picking up the service that WEB provides, there is another organization that's new to the community, but doesn't provide the same type or level of service that WEB provides. However, public health does serve some families, as does Marion Medical Center in Santa Maria. They serve their own families. WEB is really focused on Cottage Hospital, the Lompoc Medical, Valley Medical Center, and so those families are being served from that community. At this point in time, I cannot say that there is truly another entity out there just like it. So that's where we stand at the moment. Thank you. Yes, Mrs. Daney.
Marion Hospital, near and dear to my heart, has a program. I'm on, I remembered. In the event that we should sunset, is there a potential for Marion to share their program and how they've approached it with the other hospitals so that they could implement a better program or a program to fill that need?
Again, a great question. I think that is something that could be explored, and I'm not sure that we've had that conversation with Marion to ask them specifically about meeting with the other hospitals. We have met with the hospitals that we serve and explained the situation, so they're well aware of this potential sunset, but we can definitely follow up with them to have that conversation again. And Mary Ellen Reese, the Executive Director of Children and Family Resources, I know that she has an established relationship with all of the medical directors. So we can certainly see if she's done that or if we need to do that.
What was the reaction when you talked to the hospitals and told them the potential of sunsetting? Oh, no.
Another great question. Well, as we all know, it's a loved program in the community, and it's just so invaluable, the services that it provides for families, and that it's a universal program, so all families are served regardless of income or insurance, and that's part of why we are where we are. It's just a free service that we're providing. I do know that there will be, I would imagine there'll be a sense of loss when the program goes away. The hospitals, I mean, to ask their reaction, I think they are hoping that we will be able to secure funding and continue, but at this point, they are also not in a position to take on the program. So I'm not sure what the outcome of that will be for them directly.
I would just hope that they would be proactive rather than reactive in this regard, since it is a valued service and it might go away.
Correct.
If any board members have contacts through the hospitals, that might be one place our voice could be heard. Okay?
Yeah. Thank you.
Well,
All right.
Well, it's got to be said, Marion can do it. Why can't Cottage do it? Holy mackerel.
Wait a minute.
No, I'm serious.
No. Okay. Thank you, Bridget. Appreciate it. Susan, would you like to present information about the salary adjustments for employees?
Yes, thank you. And as we reported earlier in previous board meetings, including November, our staff now have turned to implementing the a 5% retro to this year and the 4% next year. And so working really hard to have that realized from July to December in December's paychecks. So all of that means that the negotiations and all of the conversations with our represented employees have gone really, really smoothly. And so after this meeting, we'll move forward with the implementation. Wanted to say that also in this information item, we strove to explain that there's been restructuring of salary schedules over time. And the restructuring over salary schedules, so just I know that Mari in Human Resources could say this much better than I, but I'll attempt it here. In our organization, like almost all education entities, not only if there's an increased percentage, you'll get a percentage increase over the salary that you're in right now. But typically, as you continue to serve, there'll be steps and moves over annually. So your annual salary increases while the percentage increases as well. The restructuring began several years ago with our teaching staff and our classified staff first, because what we were finding is that we needed to incorporate longevity and elongate the steps, because we have at SBCEO, we have individuals who stay as our employees for quite some time. And once they're all the way over on their salary schedule, there's no more steps to go. So we shifted and restructured starting in 2018-19. We continued and are concluding the restructuring for our management staff and our associate superintendents in December as well. Because what we found for our management staff, who were majority all the way over on this thing, there was nowhere else to go. We needed to ensure that there'd be some steps in the future, as well as for our associate superintendents as well. So there's steps as well as percentage increases. The Education Code Section 1302, it requires that I share with the board, there's opportunity for discussion if there's an adjustment over $10,000. So there's 6 roles, individuals at SBCEO that will have that additional adjustment in December. One is a coordinator in the early childhood education department. One is a coordinator, and the reason for that increase of 10,000 is as we made adjustments going forward, so year over year, they'll have some room for growth. We eliminated a few of the beginning columns. And so this individual was placed originally, just had been hired recently at the early column A, as we would call it. And by eliminating those columns, she got readjusted to the first column. And so that readjustment created an increase of just about $10,000. That was the one. And then the 5 other are our associate superintendents. As we adjusted the salary schedules, they also need room to grow over year. Plus, we did comparisons with districts, county offices across the state, and we needed to be more aligned with the incredible work that our associate superintendents do compared to and support, oversee, lead, provide support. So we wanted to be more in alignment. So those adjustments also created that about right around $10,000, $11,000 shifts for starting 22, 23. So those are the 6 roles and the history of what happened in the last few years. And just wanted to see if there's any questions on that information item. Okay, thank you.
Okay, The next item is going to be handled by Mary Beth, who is the chair of the board salary committee. Mary Beth.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'd like to provide just a very brief synopsis of the process of the recommendation that we are bringing before you today in light of the time that's elapsed since we first started this discussion. So the board salary committee consists of Maggie Daney, Bruce Porter, and I, and we met on October 27th to review and discuss some comparative data that we had requested the staff to provide that illustrated like-sized relevant Class 3 counties and their superintendent's compensation. And we wanted this so that we could look at how to adjust our own superintendent salary. And at that time, superintendent had brought forth salary increases for all the other employees, and using that adjusted salary schedule that Dr. Salcido just described. And with that, Susan had fallen to the very, very bottom of the list. She took care of everyone else first. And she also resided on the bottom of the list of the comparative salary schedules, as I mentioned at the last meeting. So we met, we reviewed, we discussed, and unanimously we approved a recommendation that the salary increase that reflected the midpoint between the highest and the lowest base salaries of comparable county offices, those would be Class 3 counties, be what we brought before you. So that was reported in November, and today it's the item before us for action. This is a really important item, and in light of that, we want to give it to the pros, and I know Bill was really, really hoping he could go through it again as his swan song, but in the interest of the full spectrum of understanding, because there's some moving parts here, we would like to have Mari and Bill kind of share with us the essential data that we used just to provide the context and the background for this action.
It's green now.
Okay, so are we, the 3-box chart? So we thought we'd just talk a little bit about the background and context, and we have a visual support of that first to begin.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and start and give just a little bit of context in regard to salary increases for the office. And of course, this would include salary increase for our superintendent as well. In the first interim report, and we haven't gotten to that item on the agenda yet, but yet this relates to it. So I'm going to talk just a little bit about it. It's important to note that because of the change to the LCFF funding formula for county offices that was signed into law by the governor after our board, all of you, adopted our budget for this year, that change that was signed into law affected our office and affected all of the county offices throughout the state. But in particular, for those of us who were held to the hold harmless provisions of LCFF, meaning that our revenue just stayed flat every year, pretty much flat every year, changed a little bit if ADA changed, but basically it was flat. For this year, with the formula change, our office is projected to receive about $1.3 million in additional revenue. So bringing us up to parity with the other county offices who were receiving annual increases, and parity with school districts who receive annual increases, whether it be through property taxes or the LCFF funding formula with state funding. So that being the case, when we were pulling the first interim report together, we didn't feel very good about putting that revenue increase into the budget and not putting the associated expenditures that we knew were coming about in the budget, because then you only have half of the story in the budget. So what we did was we put this revenue increase into the budget, and then we put placeholder amounts in for the 4% increase. And then we put a contingency amount in the budget for the effects of the management salary schedule changes, the associate superintendent changes, and then of course we didn't know what the changes would be. Oops, sorry, microphone. We didn't know what the changes were going to be for the superintendent's salary, so we put an additional contingency amount in the budget for that, so that whatever the decision of the board is, the budget would be able to sustain all known increases or potential increases.
And then Susan just mentioned a moment ago about a restructure of salary schedules. This was something that was an enormous project when we began. It was during a year of negotiations in 2018-19, and we began, as she mentioned, with all of our classified staff and our certificated staff, as well as our non-represented classified staff. So all non-management staff first. And just to give you a visual using my hands, we had for classified staff 5 steps, and we increased that to 25 steps. With each of those steps were additional increments of salary increase. So they get those annually every time they come up upon their anniversary, in addition to whatever salary increases we impose on the entire salary schedule. For certificated, they had 13, it's a different direction structurally. They had 13, and we increased that to 25 as well. Same concept, additional increases above and beyond what they get imposed on the entire salary schedule. So that was a really huge effort on our part to try to provide that room for growth naturally, in addition to whatever salary increases were incurred. And as Susan mentioned, we're now looking at and finishing the management and associate superintendent restructures as well. And what I want to say in that last part there about superintendent salary is she has a single amount. So there is no room for growth. And with that, of course, as everybody else grows with the salary increases and those increments, she has just the salary increases that she incurs. So there's a bit of a difference there at this point. That might account for some of why things are the way they are right now. So today, in the blue, excuse me, we wanted to just go back and refer you to the memo that I wrote with some additional information and the superintendent salary survey that is attached. We kind of walk through that first, and then we're going to update you with a new survey with some updated information since that memo was developed. Okay. So when you look at the survey itself, the one that looks like this with the blue on the top, you'll see that we highlighted 4 COEs, and we've been calling those the comparable districts, COEs, excuse me. The reason that we call those comparable is those COEs, along with those larger LEAs that you see below the gray line, are the same county offices and LEAs that we utilize for all of our salary surveys. So for example, if we're looking at paraeducators or childcare assistants or a teacher or a psychologist, anyone, we use those same entities to compare with. So that's why we began with those in doing the superintendent salary survey. So those in blue are the 4 class 3 COEs that are most commonly compared with us. The ones below that, Kern, Marin, San Luis Obispo, and Tulare, those are not class 3, but they are often also used for comparison due to either socioeconomic status in the case of Marin, or the other 3 being a part of our region. So in the state of California, we have 11 regions that have been identified. We are region 8, and that includes us, Ventura, SLO, and Kern. And then, of course, below the gray line, you have the local larger LEAs. Those are also the LEAs that we typically, where we typically house regional programs. So we work very closely with them. A lot of our staff work alongside them as well. Going across the top on the headers there, you see it'll say students. So that row has the ADA for each of those entities. Then the number of employees, how many districts are in each of those county offices of education, the total budget, and then, of course, superintendent salary on the far right. Below the bold line, you'll see some means and medians that we provided as a part of this study. The ones that are highlighted in blue are the ones that we've been the most focused on. So that first one that says 281, 975, and 52. That is the COE mean of the comparable COEs, so the ones that are highlighted blue above. Below that are the local LEA mean. And then, of course, in green at the bottom is the SBCEO data. So I just kind of wanted to walk you through all of that information first. And before we show you the updated information, ask if you have any questions about anything that's on here.
I just wanted to, maybe I have incorrect data, but I have in my records from CCBE that Tulare is considered a class 3 county. And I think that is an outlier in terms of their total budget, but I think that could,
You are correct.
put into,
Yes.
okay.
Sorry about that. That's an
all
error
right.
on my part. I said they're not class 3, but I was wrong.
Okay.
That one is.
Not part of the comparable COAs because it isn't typically compared to SBCO. Just, I'm looking over to Mari to confirm that to be correct.
That's correct. Okay, so now what we'd like to do is provide you with a new spreadsheet that has a little bit of additional information. Do they already have this? Or no. Okay. In general, this spreadsheet is almost identical. There are a few updates, and we just want to make sure there are no questions about the data in general. So we've added a couple of data points and done things slightly different so you can see a bigger picture based on some feedback. Okay, so the first thing that we did was, given the class 3, and thank you, Michelle, for bringing that up, we added in all of the class 3 COEs at the top here. We still have the 4 comparable ones highlighted in blue, but you can see Tulare is there. We added 2 more, and that is the entirety of class 3 COEs, San Mateo and Stanislaus. And I do want to just say, if you look at those 2 and you go over to the superintendent's salary, you see it's 260, 263. That could give you the impression that we intentionally excluded that for some reason because those are lower, but I want to assure you that is not the case. And you'll see that as you see the means and the data as we go further into this spreadsheet. We also have Region 8, Kern, and SLO below that line there. And Marin's in there still because, again, that is commonly used for comparability with Santa Barbara County. And then the Placer and Monterey going all the way over to the right under salaries. Placer and Monterey, the first and third salaries. Those have been verified. At the time we gave you that last memo, they were still pending board approval. And actually, Monterey's ended up being much higher than we expected. So that has been adjusted over on the right there. Then going down to the means and medians, you'll see we added a highlighted blue number. Before on the last spreadsheet, we had the COE mean of comparables only. And that is, as you see here, 283, 418, and 26 cents. We've now added, just for the sake of conversation and information for you, all of those class 3, even the ones that we wouldn't normally consider comparable. And that mean is 278, 712, and 90 cents. And then we have, again, the local LEA mean for those LEAs that we have listed. And I think, Mary Beth, you mentioned the midpoint was a data point that we were looking at and discussing at the board salary committee meeting. So I just wanted to point out that the midpoint with this updated data, when we are looking at the midpoint between the local LEAs and the comparable COEs, the blues only, that's an estimated $274,000 rounded. If we were to use the class 3 mean and look at the midpoint between all class 3 COEs and the local LEA, we would have 272,000 estimated as the midpoint. Did I miss anything?
You got it all.
Questions about that?
I just want to say great job putting all of this information together. This was a lot of information, and how you were able to verify and to accommodate all the classes of counties. Yeah, I just want to say great job on this.
I agree with Nadra that, thank you. I know there's a lot of Excel work, a lot of time went into this, and I appreciate the extra information too. Thank you.
And I'm especially grateful for you for breaking it all down and explaining it in a way that I could have never approached. So once again, thank you. So at this time, I just want to underscore that it is our desire to right-size our superintendent's salary. And it looks like a big jump. But I think in light of the full and glaring inequities on the spreadsheet that you've very painstakingly put together, and thank you for the comps. They're really, really helpful because we don't have a starting point otherwise. What we had was a superintendent who gladly accepted the terms of our offer years ago and never asked for another penny. And it's, to me, it's unconscionable to see this number in green here. So beyond that, we have this opportunity with the LCFF, gifting us this additional funding after 9 years of flat funding. We have a budget that will support our recommendation. And looking again at the midpoints with the new information, the midpoint of 273,000 seems to be right in the center there between the two class 3 mean and the other. So I would love to entertain a motion, or I will make one. You have to say what it is. The 70.
The purpose of the minute, so Anna has it, it is the precise number set forth on page what of the agenda? I think we just want to be specific. Oh, on the handout. Okay, the updated handout. That's your motion, which I enthusiastically second.
So which number on the handout is the motion about?
It's on the memo.
Oh, on this,
Nope, the memo.
the memo, okay.
From Mari,
Gotcha.
page 2 of the memo from Mari.
Okay.
I believe for clarification that the number that has been discussed and recommended by the board salary committee is 273,168. Is that correct? Okay, that's the number we're talking about.
Thank you. That is the exact middle between the local LEA superintendent salary mean and the superintendent salary mean of the most comparable county offices of education. In your motion, do we need to retroactively apply this? We would like to see this happen before the end of the year in keeping with the other salary increases. That would be December.
I can add that to my motion if you'd like. I wholeheartedly believe that should be the case. So I amend my motion to include it would be retroactive.
To July 1st, 2022, in alignment with the other across-the-board salary schedules. Okay.
To the extent Robert's Rules of Order, I accept the amendment as the seconder, and someone's point, I think it was yours, Mary Beth, this is retroactive, consistent with the other salary increases that were just reported on.
We have a motion and a second. And at this time, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Oh, we have some questions. Okay, raise your hands. Who? Bruce? No? Michelle?
Thank you. Yes, I do believe that Superintendent Salcido has been undercompensated. And I am happy to say that, we're bringing her to parity with the other Class 3 county offices. And I think that was a really great job by the committee orchestrating this. The only highlight I want to say is that together going forward, I would really like to see a policy, a board policy, board bylaw regarding setting the superintendent salary in the future. So next year, we'll have some specific parameters and criteria for setting the salary so we can be consistent through the years.
I think that can certainly go on a future agenda item. And I think the policy committee, Bruce, meets in January.
All through the year.
All through the year. Yeah. So that will definitely go on the agenda, Michelle. Thank you. All right. No further discussion, then all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Yeah, any abstentions? Okay, motion passes.
Thank you.
Yay. All right. Yeah, Merry Christmas. Well, being that you've gone 5 years without an increase, and unlike some of the other districts, which this information was not included in the agenda item because it would just get into such a maze of stuff, you don't have any other benefits. I mean, and some of the other counties have car allowances and other allowances and also have retirement funds donated and so forth. So I think the devil's in the detail. We need to make sure that we keep that in mind as well. Okay, moving forward, the recommendation of the approval of the first interim report, and I get to make that presentation, and thank heavens Mr. Ridgeway is still here because he is the person that we depend upon to present our interim reports, our budgets and our interim reports. And we met on, when did we meet? November 23rd? Does that sound about right? And it was myself as chair and Maggie and Michelle are the budget committee. We've kind of already Bill did a very good job in our prior discussion explaining the major factor on our first interim changing from our budget having to do with the LCFF funding formula for county boards. So that has already been explained. And then also the offset that our interim budget includes the anticipated expenses having to do with that. So we're getting both sides of the story. So our deficit spending is projected at 562,000, and it's decreased by 936,000 from the adopted budget. And our ending balance has increased by $1,095,000. Okay, any question? Well, before we do that, may I have, the Budget Committee is recommending approval of the first interim report, and may I have a motion? And a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those approve? Aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Abstain? Okay. Then our next item is to adopt a resolution to authorize entering into the agreement with the California Department of Education for early care and education services. And there was an attachment of that agreement that was in our resolution that was in our packet. The superintendent has recommended approval of resolution 2311. Do we have any questions? It's going to be a roll call vote. Do we have any questions?
Move approval.
Move approval. Second?
I'll second.
Okay. Discussion? Michelle?
I just wanted to clarify, we don't have in personnel, in the board policy, I don't think we have any conflict of interest. We don't have a conflict of interest policy, as I understand, because I looked on the website. So I would like to recommend that since we have personnel designated to sign and renew contracts, that we have a conflict of interest policy in place for both this item and the next going forward. But just wanted to have that, just add that to the minutes.
To clarify, I think what I'm hearing is in a future board policy committee to add a conflict of interest discussion and item so that going forward there'll be an item addressed. Yes. Yeah, okay, thank you.
And I think we do have one for the board, so I think it would be appropriate to have one for personnel as well.
We have a motion, we have a second, we've had discussion. Roll call.
Okay, Mrs. Carty?
Aye.
Mrs. Daney?
Aye.
Mrs. DeWord?
Aye.
Ms. Ehrman?
Aye.
Mrs. Frost?
Aye.
Mr. Howell?
Aye.
Mr. Porter?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, motion passes.
Now on the next, that was just for item 2311. We also have a 2312 resolution having to do with entering, let's see, into the agreement with the California Department of Social Services. Do I have a motion to approve? Second?
I'll second.
Any questions? Hearing none, roll call. Anna?
Aye.
Aye. Mrs. DeWord?
Aye.
Ms. Ehrman?
Aye.
Mrs. Frost?
Aye.
Mr. Howell?
Aye.
Mr. Porter?
Aye.
Thank you, motion passes.
And I believe I've lost the last page of the agenda, but I think the only item left is the state of emergency resolution, which is resolution 2313. And as Susan has mentioned to us before, the governor has declared an end of the emergency at the end of February. So we would like to approve the resolution so that if we need to use a Zoom meeting in January or February, that we would be able to do that. It has been helpful in some cases of some committee meetings and so forth. So again, I need a motion
Move approval.
and a second. Discussion? All right, roll call.
Aye.
Mrs. Daney? Aye. Mrs. DeWord?
Aye.
Ms. Ehrman?
Aye.
Mrs. Frost? Mrs. Frost?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Aye.
And Mr. Porter?
Aye.
Okay, and the next item is to mention if there's any future items that we want on the agenda. I think we've got a couple for Bruce's committee. Any other items that we will want to discuss, add to the list? Okay, hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn until January 5th.
No hesitation.
No
here.
discussion. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? Oh, come on, you've had a lot of fun. Thank you very much. We are adjourned.